Hello, Dr. Reinhard Wagner. How are you going today?
Thank you. I'm very fine. It's very hot here, so we're enjoying the summer.
Yeah, we are enjoying the summer, and I don't know, you did call me, Dharam, you are over ready for this presentation? Yes, I am. And I see 34 degrees centigrade here, which is equivalent to probably somewhere 90s in Fahrenheit, which is very, very hot.
And today here it was 35 Celsius, and we're expecting thunderstorms the next day, so it will cool down a bit.
Okay, great. So welcome once again, and we have started this series long time back. It is going great. A lot of people are benefiting from these discussions. We do start with the subject, and then we go free flow. Whatever ideas come to you and whatever ideas come to me, we just talk and try to come up with a meaningful discussion. So in the continuation of the last week's session, I will take it further, and we have discussion about some of the important factors. So the topic I have is ideas to reality. So as a project manager, program manager, portfolio manager, we are working toward somebody's idea to reality. Okay, so we look into the factors that are influencing the project economy.
A lot.
There are many factors, and everybody has a different view about the factors. We will talk. So as per PMI, PMI did some research, and everybody knows some of this research, and they find out that there are 6 major factors which can influence the project management, the skills, the current skills, and future skills. So some of the factors we'll talk about, such as climate change. And it's a very, very, very valid topic in current situation.
I think if we now talk about Corona, Corona was speeding up quite a lot the digitalization of our business, but also private life. Right now we are talking on a very long distance, like we would sit beside each other. And I think that's changing quite a lot, the workplace, the work style and collaboration between companies. I think that's good for economy, for society, for environment, because we don't travel that much. And I think we got used to using tools like this Teams or many others. But it also changes maybe the way we see what kind of work do we do? Do we have a purpose? Do we follow a certain purpose? Is our work meaningful? And I think all that, I think shapes projects, because at the beginning of a project, we ask ourselves, okay, what is what we are doing here? What for? What is the outcome? What is the benefit? And not just only on an economic basis, but also from a societal basis and a human basis. And I think that's very much important and driving the change in our society. And if you go more to the technical side of projects, right now in all the industries, in automotive, like in Germany, innovation. So that means innovation of products from combustion engine cars to electric cars. But it's also the whole concept, business model are changing. They are disrupted. Let's say, do we need really a car, or do we have car sharing concepts or other mobility concepts? And each of those activities is put into a project and is driving the projectification of our society. And that's just 2 examples of the drivers, right?
Yeah, I mean, you correctly picked the right thing, Corona, which is current at the moment. I mean, I do see a downfall of Corona. I hope that's a downside. We have seen huge disruption in our society for last 1.5 years. Major shift happened because of this Corona going on. The way we were working versus now, the way the project being managed versus in the current situation and the future going forward. Whatever we learn, some of the situation will stay as it is for many people, because companies like Facebook and Google, they're saying, you know what, some of the work which can be done remotely, you don't have to come to office. So that's going to stay still same. while you will be going to, people going to travel from home to office only for meetings or some celebration. Otherwise, you generally going to be at home running the projects, programs anywhere in the world. Your team is sitting in other part of the world, maybe Germany, India, Philippines, US. So as a project manager, your skills has to be, different than what you used to when you are working with people sitting next to each other. And I know many people who are working in IT, they are already used to such environment because, to be very frank, we have been doing this remote project management for probably at least 20 years, early 2000, when we start having this virtual or what you call some firewall arrangement or some the virtual links were given to us, and the projects were happening, and it still can be managed very effectively. More important, you don't have to travel, as you mentioned, you don't have to travel anywhere. You're calling in the middle of the night, which is not a good thing, but you can manage the work like that.
I think you mentioned a very important point that there are enough tools doing that. And I think since 20 or more years, we are using tools. But what is changing now is that it is the daily routine to collaborate on a virtual basis. And also across many barriers. Maybe in the past, we had this video conferencing system, very expensive, and it was only in some of the spots of the project used. Now it's quite normal. Every day you have a fixed meeting, regular meetings and everything across any organizational or network boundaries. And if you look into the quality of communication, it's also very interesting that people ask, how are you? Really asking, how are you? So try to get a personal grip. So what's going on with the other side? So it's a kind of like in a face-to-face situation that we want to get touch each other, know what is the being on the other side, and how to cooperate. The other side is that's also we are suffering a bit now, cybersecurity, because now we put everything on online. And there are many projects also right now looking into how can we ensure that our data is going to the right people. And especially in development areas where you do product development or so, it should not go to somewhere else. It should stay in there. And as easy as it is to communicate and to exchange data via this online to a cloud, the more we need to be careful and to really stay safe and secure what data handling means. And that's both sides, opportunities and threats also in working virtually in projects, right?
Yeah, you talked about a very important point, cybersecurity. As we get becoming more and more dependent on data, on cloud setups, and everything on internet, it is making us more vulnerable. And as a project manager, we have to consider all these factors as well. Previously, yeah, because data within the same premises, don't worry about. But now we have to have extra precautions, extra measures to be taken with the collaboration with your cybersecurity team. How it can be, if you are putting a new application which is going to be for public, you need to analyze how this can be breached by hackers. What measures you have to take to ensure that system is foolproof. And of course, you need to do a lot of testing for that, vulnerability testing or penetration testing, whatever. But this is a yes, investment required, any testing, but you need to be very, very careful how to make sure your applications are very secure so that external unwanted people cannot hack your system and take away some of the valuable information about your customers. It can reach.
Working with automotive industry, it's increasingly a requirement whether you fulfill certain standards, there are standards, ISO standards, etc., on information security and data protection and so on. And if you're not following it, you are out. So you're not even allowed to go into certain chat rooms or certain collaboration media. And I think that's very critical for all the project people to first know what are the potential threats, what kind of tools and procedures we can use to collaborate in a safe and secure environment. And that also means an additional skill set or competences that we need to acquire and make available to people. Otherwise, we are out of business. It's very simple. Because the big clients here, like BMW or so, they say, if you do not comply with this data security stuff, you're not allowed to collaborate and work in projects.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the skill sets, in the, yes, you need to have project management skills, technical skills in project management, but you need to also be aware of new emerging technologies, such as AI, 3D, 5G, all these things are great input to the, to the society. And if you are not using them effectively, you're benefiting from this to yourself, to company, and to your customer. So having certain knowledge, and there are a number of certifications available, not just project program, but there are technical certifications. You don't have to go in the detail of the technology, but have enough knowledge so that when you talk to the people who have this understanding, they're talking in the room, you should be able to pick some, some terminology from that, which can be useful when you're running a major project.
I can point you to a survey. So last year, IPMA, together with PwC, they published a study on the impact of artificial intelligence on project management. Very interesting, because it shows that increasingly the technologies like machine learning or robot process automation and stuff is being used in projects. But it's also a future projection that it will not replace project managers. It will give them more time to really focus on the soft side, collaboration side, and so on their key tasks. It might be more, let's say, a replacement of what is typically done in project office, project management office, more on a routine or, let's say, administrative tasks. Because that can be more or easily replaced by artificial intelligence, but not the real leadership tasks that we have as a project manager. And I think that's a very, very nice conclusion of that study, to say, hey, don't worry about artificial intelligence, because very frankly, if you look into the application of artificial intelligence, it's really scarcely used yet. And we need to encourage companies and project managers really to use and build more on applications that are around for several years already. But some are afraid about this. It will replace my job, so I better not use it, and so on. And see a chance in it. And anyway, it will come, so you cannot prevent it. And just get the knowledge about utilization of artificial intelligence.
Exactly, and that, I think that's where the opportunity for a lot of project program managers, because the current knowledge of AI is very, very low. And I think one of the paper I think you were talking about, 77% people, project managers, they still don't know much about AI technologies. So that means, if you learn and you have opportunity to grow in that field, not only sustain your, maintain your job, but also maybe excelling in your job. And you correctly mentioned, there are a lot of jobs which can be easily done automatically by having some macros running. We are used to running the macros, get some data from various sources, put in an Excel spreadsheet or something. And now the tools are becoming more and more smart. Project management tools are becoming more smarter. They can start giving you early warning, based on all the real-time information coming from various sources. And as a project manager, as a program manager, portfolio CEO, director level, they can get early warnings about, hey, you know what, the project is in trouble. You need to do something. Otherwise, we have a disaster project.
Yeah, but we need to be very careful with messages about new work and artificial intelligence, because a lot of people, at least in my country, believe that we will lose jobs. So many thousands, even maybe millions of jobs will be lost due to new technology. And I say, if we look back into the last 50 years or so, yes, we lost some jobs, but more were created through using these new technologies. So it will be, let's say, a change in the job description and the job. And very frankly, we lost most of the routine or hard labor working jobs and replaced them by more skilled or more qualified jobs. And that's a good message. It means first, we're not losing jobs, we are winning, but you need to qualify yourself to catch up with the speed of change and engage yourself in new technologies. And it will not stop, it will continue lifelong. Right?
It is going to continue. And as you correctly mentioned, yes, there is a fear among people that, you know what, if we move to this, what about my job? You know, a lot of things can be done by your bots, you know, automatic bots which reply based on you. And if you are one of the person who is answering the messages is also a new thing. But and you feel, oh, if this comes, then what about me? And you correctly said, there are more jobs created compared to what we're losing. Only thing, you need to shift your thinking. If you go back a little bit further, a lot of smiths, blacksmiths, and people doing hard job, they probably thought that machine will replace my, I'm making this beautiful tool. But once we have machine automatic systems, then they will not need me. Of course, you don't have to work harder. You may be doing something smarter. You can think some strategic work, which can be, it's not easy to transition into, but that's where we have to move ourselves. How not to worry about the current job loss. How can I transition myself to the new and upcoming technology?
So, absolutely, and there are many technologies coming up. Also in our company, we are trying out. Some will be replaced by others. But I think it's good to test, to try out and make yourself familiar with it. And it's the continuous journey, a continuous change. And it's done by projects and through projects. And I think that's a good learning journey.
Exactly. So this is always, and if I want to give my example, when I started in long time back, we were talking about VEX, VMS, IBM mainframe, and IT as an IT person. And in those, we're talking about COBOL and C and Pascal, Fortran. I don't know if you remember those things. C is still in use. COBOL is still in use, but it's not in, not many people are interested to learn. So in those days, I was thinking I have to learn them because I have to survive. Then once we are moving into, from the VEX VMS to the new Java technology, Java to new technology. So we have been shifting ourselves. The most important thing is how can I move myself from the existing to the new in the shortest possible time.
And it's funny because my sons are studying informatics, so they are now speaking about their languages they are using, like Python and whatever they are. And I always talk about Pascal and Fortran and so more hardware close programming languages. And it was back in the 80s, but and it's still a continuous journey. And whatever programming language you basically use, it is shaping your idea, making something out of your idea, and creating a product and a service out of it. And I think that's basically also the idea of projects, making the ideas real. And if you look, I said in one of our sessions, what is a project? It is a task. It is a team working together through networking activities and so on. It is time bound because you have a certain delivery date, right? And it's transition, I said at that time, so the 4T model. And transition is something changing from one state to the next one. And whether it's a working process that we change through the software that we are using, or the collaboration now between the US and Bavaria or so, I think that's what makes projects so important for our lives.
Yeah. So I mean, there are other threats or maybe opportunities coming up, which you probably know, like globalization.
Globalization is driving, I think, the number or what we call projectification, the number of projects and important projects, because globalization means partners from various countries all over the globe. They work together in projects, and everyone needs to focus on the core competences. So maybe you do offshoring with India and they do the programming and we do more the hardware, or the other way around. That depends maybe on the market and the products. I think in the last few years, the globalization was a bit decreasing because, you know, political difficulties, sanction, then the coronavirus also reduced, let's say, the way of globalization, because people were not allowed to travel. They try to focus on supply chains in their own country. But I believe we will have the same level of globalization and even more coming up after Corona, because we are dependent on materials, on know-how, on the combination of both. And Germany is a clear export nation. Without export, without globalization, we would not exist. Because our market is far too small to survive. So this is why Germany, and especially automotive industry, it's the most globalized economy, profiting from many relations in all parts of this world. And that means also you need to manage those very carefully. And so without China, the market in China, we would not have survived in automotive industry, because as China was growing, the US market was an area. So you can balance more also from an economic perspective. So this is why I would argue to have a good network with partners and clients all over the world is very essential for a project economy and helps all of us, basically.
Yeah, and that's where, as a project manager, you need to be more upfront, knowing because of your team may be sitting in other countries. Now you know the cultural differences and the time zone differences and the language difference. All are you know, while there are challenges, and especially if you have multiple countries, think about it. You know, people in Saudi Arabia, you have team in Chile, you have team in Germany, you have team in Australia, different time zone and different cultural. So as a project manager, you and program manager, you have to think about, hey, I should have enough knowledge and understanding about my team's culture, or not just team culture. I mean, my team member who is in Japan, who is in India, who is in Saudi Arabia, what they think when I'm saying this way, what they interpret. Because the thing is that I'm saying something, the person sitting on the other side, he may be interpreting differently. Absolutely. As you know, that we have in a project management as communication method. I'm saying something, you're listening something. In between, you have your on what you call noise pollution or your interpretation. Hey, Dharam is always like this, and you interpreted something like that, and you said something, and I'm interpreting differently. So as a project manager, we need to ensure that the other person is getting your message. You may have to have a feedback channel. Hey, Reinhard, did you get my message? I asked you, is it clear to you? Can you paraphrase to me? So these things will also be useful as a project manager, and especially in this environment, emotional intelligence will be useful, especially, the person sitting in another part of the world, dealing with some situation, let's say COVID. You are expecting a deadline, you have a deadline to worry about, but the person, your team member, may be dealing with some personal situation or a medical situation. So we need to be more open and understanding what's going on in the other part of the world with that person.
And my experience, and I travel to 120 countries, you need to be curious, you need to be open, you just need to listen more than you speak yourself. And also be tolerant. I've been to Iran, a very lovely country. I love those people. And it's very good because you have very high skilled people. And you know, there are many problems, sanctions and stuff. But if I show my interest in the country, in the history, in the culture, in the heritage and so on, people are very open to collaborate. On the project side, it means I need to have space or create space for more informal communication. And I think that's what I explain to project management quite often. There are two sides. So you have more the formal one, status, reports, and blah, blah, blah. But I think in an intercultural setting, it's more the informal time. What you said, how are you really, to give space for team building, time for listening, also clarifying what is the value in that country, maybe religious, maybe political, it may be just food. And that's so interesting. You learn such a lot of things. You may not apply everything and agree with everything, but that's not the point. The point is that you want to reach a goal in the project and you need those people, and it's fun working with people. And I always believe that a multicultural team, a very diverse team, is much better than have you have the same Germans with the same education, with the same background and so on. That's not only boring, that's a risk because you don't see other perspectives. And so I believe it's very good to have a multicultural team formed.
Yeah, so the difference in ideas, while we see, what, the language is different or culture is different, how we want to talk to each other, that's irrelevant after some time. And because it's just not the language or the religious belief or something else, it is the way you build your relationship with the person matters.
Absolutely.
And you're right, sometimes if you are talking to different culture or different religion or understanding or different country, if you have showing them that you are interested in them, they will show you more respect. And believe it or not, you have to work with them. We have shifted ourselves in the globalization long time back. It is all happening and it's going to be growing more and more. One is because of COVID, we know that it's possible. Earlier, majority of the work was done, IT people are doing that way, IT companies. Now more companies are opening up because they know that this is possible. And the cost factor is also another thing they have to think about. Hey, I can have people from Manila or India or some other places. They are doing equal or maybe better job, and they are getting, are to spend less money. That's where these factors will come more and more. So rather, instead of opposing, maybe learn how to work in this situation and be more productive.
Absolutely. It requires more time. I'm always arguing, also with German companies that are export companies, that they need to invest time because you do not switch on a team and say, now you start working and that's it. It won't work. So you need really time for team building, for understanding each other, more for informal time. And some of the CEOs or the bosses say, hey, it's just coffee drinking and having fun and so on. We don't pay you for that. But I say, if you have this time, that's an investment, and you will see immediately throughout the project the performance going up, and it will pay out definitely. So it's worth an investment, and by the way, also very good for your personal development because you learn a lot.
Yeah, that's where the networking also comes in picture because while you just focus on work, you just know only about the work. But if you're talking to the other person and then you get to know more about, hey, this person is also and he or she can help you with other things as well. And that's where now we don't have hopefully very soon the luxury of having coffee and going out lunch, it will become normal. But at the moment, if the team is sitting at the part of the world, you don't have luxury of lunches together, but you can have virtual lunch together. Hey guys, bring your lunch, let's talk. And just talk anything. We don't have to talk about work at all. And open up and let people build their frequency with each other. and bondings with each other. That
And
can
it
get
pays,
you more work than just work. Yes.
and that pays off if you're in a critical moment in the project, and there are many critical moments in projects. And then you just call someone you met informally and who trusts you. And I think that's the key word, is trust here. And it's like if you have money and put it on a bank account, you can withdraw from the bank account. And so it's like building a relationship. That's like you put money on a bank account, because you can withdraw at a certain moment. And especially if it's a critical moment in the project, then you have credit. And I think that's how I explain project managers, that it is important to put something on the account to build trust, because it will pay off at a certain point in time.
And actually, you touch a very, very important point. You know, if I go back to my HP experience in Australia, I was responsible for setting up cloud data center for HP, one of the largest in Asia Pacific. My team was sitting in Manila, and you know, happened to be these are some of the best of the breed people. But somehow I realized that one of the team members is not productive enough anymore. So I said, okay, let's have, you know, just talking to him, hey, how's it going? Just having chat. Then realize that he's actually at a personal level, he's struggling really badly, especially because HP is expecting, actually Manila was expecting that they should be in, you know, working 2 shifts at least. Sometimes he is working the 3rd shift as well. I didn't know about that. I was thinking that this person, yeah, they are multitasking, but not like this. So after listening to him, you know, I did talk to my manager, did something, you know, something happened. They were now spending more time with me in my time zone. That's a good thing happened for my project. But at the same time, I got that trust from him. So when I was struggling with my deadlines, he said, Dharam, don't worry about it. We are with you. We'll make sure you get there. We'll all get there. So these informal discussions can bring a lot of positive sides for your project and success of the project.
I would rephrase it as saying that's the key for the success of a project, because you're depending on a high performance team. And if you're not caring about the people, they will feel it. And if you find something like that and help also that person, the whole team will focus on it. Or if you turn it around, you hack on one of the team members, and there's no reason for it. You just don't like that person. And the other team members will sense that and lose trust in you as a leader. Yeah. So it's so important that you really bind in all the people, human beings, and try to find a way and take care. I think that's the key point.
Yeah, and that is where the difference comes between AI, which we are talking about, and human. And you can get the work done automatically, everything happening by itself. Yeah. But what is still missing, you know, thank God, that the robots or the machine still cannot be as emotional. You know, you cannot have emotional feelings just like you can have. And yes, let machine work on the other things, and you can build a relationship and get the work done.
I was reading a book. I don't recall the exact name. I will find it. Robots Like Us, and it is an essay about the newest breed of robots that like humans. They look like humans and behave a bit like humans, and they are purchased one by one to families, to singles. And one of the ladies fell in love. So the robot was in between her and her boyfriend and so on. But at the end, it turned out that all the robots conducted suicide. Oh. Because they were not able to cope with the disabilities of the human beings. So they said, we are so perfect, but the human beings are so imperfect, so we cannot stand that. And it's a real weird story, but it's also frightening if you see how far the development can go towards robots and automation and so on, and that we should stay under control of that development and And we really need also good governance for artificial intelligence and robot and process automation and so on. Not that at a certain point in time they are taking over.
Yeah, actually, that's very scary when the way we are saying, what you said, the robot is taking place human. Yes, they cannot be as, the emotional or the thing, but at one point in time, they can take over. I don't know, that's not a forum to talk about. But that's where the governance and ethical boundaries come in picture, how far you can go or how far you're allowed to do some research or technology advancement. But yeah, so that's a topic for some other time. And so here, as a project manager of projects we are running, how can we still utilize some of the key skills and you get the work done, even if you are in the global environment?
Okay. The book, by the way, it's written by a British, it's Ian McEwan, Machines Like Us.
Not the robots.
No, Machines Like Me. Sorry, Machines Like Me. That's the English title. Machines Like Me. It's really scary, but it's really interesting also to read. And he's a specialist on future technologies, and it's really scary. I was really reading it very fast. But we should stay under control of that.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, this is some leaders have to get together. Hey, how far? Like if we talk about COVID, we still don't know whether COVID is a man-made technology, combination of technology, or it is natural. If it is man-made, it's dangerous. The way we are moving towards one country or one power has all this new technology, and suddenly they are taking over and killing human in generation.
That's why we are looking a bit scared towards what's going on in smart cities, especially in Asia. If you see these data center where they're collecting thousands of video camera signals with facial impressions and scanning and so on. In Europe, we have very strict data protection laws, so sure, there's some opportunity. If someone is feeling sick in the middle of the street, you can send someone to help. Or if there's a crime happening somewhere in the streets, you can help. On the other hand, we are traced. So at least there's a potential of monitoring, controlling people and their behaviors, and that can be used and misused. So we are very sensitive about that here in Europe. And that brings me to another point that's also relevant in our discussion today. It's about the aging society. Because we also need to be very careful in projects, but also in real society, not to lose the elderly generation, because they're not so adaptive to new technologies. And especially if we have mobile phones and apps and stuff, which is used for elections, for example. A lot of elderly people in Germany, they don't know how to use that. They have no idea. So it's also something that we need to have an eye on, the aging society and what are the implications for project economy. There are quite a lot of opportunities, but there's also the risks of losing them through not adopting to the technologies, right?
Yeah, and on other side, yes, aging society is one thing as your customer or your users. At the same time, as a project manager, you're working with some of the newer, generation. They are more advanced. Their attention can be to a particular thing is very, very low. They're shifting their thinking. They're always on the phone or something going on. So, I don't know what generation we want to call them, but
Z or Z.
Whatever, it's all the newer people coming out, and especially like my kids, they are into that age where they're moving into the workforce very soon. But their thinking is different than ours, and you want to get the project done, and if you're expecting them to do, we have to change your own behavior to adopt with this newer workforce coming in the market.
I just finished a survey or study with young students on that exactly the topic. Our question was, what is the demand or what are the requirements of Generation Z, those born in 1995 and up to now? How can organizations really cope with that? And it's very interesting. They're very positive towards projects, because projects is a space where they can enact their own dreams and expectations and so on. But that means that a command and control leadership style does not work. So you need to give them more, let's say, responsibility and space to maneuver, and also allow them to use whatever tools they are used to give more freedom. We also said, but yeah, we have the cybersecurity restrictions and so on. And that's a bit difficult for them to understand and cope with that. But they expect more freedom. But that's positive because they are also disrupting. They are showing new ways of working. And this is why this advice of this study is, well, give them more space, especially in projects. Use them already in the conceptual phases. Ask them, give them more participation possibilities in that process, and you will have a lot of success because they're helping you to boost your company and your business. So don't be afraid of they are different and blah blah blah. But that's the coming generation, and they are very positive and optimistic towards projects. Just give them the opportunity to work on them.
Yeah. So as a project manager, little bit shift required in your behavior. What you mentioned correctly, like it's not a command and like pre-olden days, you give the command you expect them to do. No, you give them space and allow them some time and listen to their creativity or innovation. And yes, you're right. They can surprise you. I mean, I can see a lot of example at home as well. When I'm doing something, one of my kids comes in, why don't you do this way? Wow, I never thought that way. Actually, this is a totally different way of doing things. And suddenly, which I was thinking is a big problem to me, and now it's a big solution for me. So yeah,
that's good. And if we talk about leadership styles, we discussed several leadership styles for them, and their expectation towards leadership is very clear. Don't tell me what to do and how to do. But just give me, let's say, advice or coaching. What is the space of possibilities? Because sure, they don't have much experience. So the leadership role is just more a coaching, a supportive role to show or to demonstrate, or let's say to at least offer a space of possibilities. That means maybe experience from other projects, or open the toolbox with a lot of different tools where they can choose themselves what they believe the right tool is, and you can follow a bit, but give them space. If you then try to control again, you are out. So it's a very different leadership style they expect, and we need to cope with.
Yeah, at the same time, we still should have some kind of structure. It's not like it's a cowboy style and anybody can do anything. You need to have a proper structure. You need to still have a plan. You need to still think about risks and issues and changes and manage them effectively. And yes, your resources are different and you have to work with different resources and different style. So yes, you mentioned correctly, leadership style, it can be different in different scenarios. And yes, when you work with experienced people, they are expecting different things from you, different ways they are expecting command. But when you're working with the newer generation, you allow them more flexibility, more innovation, more space, or different innovation ideas. Let them flow. So
yeah, and what's very important for them is also to have a meaningful work.
Meaningful work, yes.
Meaningful work. I emphasize that because they are not a generation that suffers, that is just born into life to earn money and work hard, and so it's for them, they have more, let's say, more possibilities, like maybe my or the predecessor generation, and so they choose companies for talents. They choose companies whether companies offering a purposeful project, and they love projects, but it should be a good purpose for it. And that's important also, because if you just have normal business projects and no meaningful projects, they would certainly maybe leave or go to another company, or do not even start with your company.
So you're saying that we should be putting them in some of the new emerging technology, where it's not a boring routine job, which routine project, but rather more innovative, more where thoughts are required, out of box thinking required, where they feel challenged. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, my eldest, he's a bachelor. He had several offers of very big companies, very large companies, very prestigious companies. He refused all of them. He said, even starting by applying, he applied to a startup, and within 24 hours, he got a WhatsApp message. They invited him to a Skype call, to a Skype interview the next day. And the second day after his message, he was hired. And he was working not only 40 hours like it's typical in Germany, he worked 60 hours and more, because it was something innovative, very meaningful. The CEO was a 35-year-old. They were going for lunch and so on. They loved that kind of spirit or framing. And that's a danger for the big companies, because how do they get their young people, young generation to work for? So they need also to be attractive and offer some cool environment and projects.
Yeah, it's not just money. You need to think about and creating environment for them. Simple things like having gym in there, having a gym, maybe swimming pool, a spa. I don't know.
We discussed that, by the way, whether it's a swimming pool, spa, or so. I think that's not in Germany, but also what they like the most. And I can tell you it is work time autonomy. And that's a very important part. So they should have a say, at least in when they work, how long they work. And for them, it's a work-life balance is very much important. So they are not working their asses off. They are really someone that wants to also have a private life. So that should be also considered, at least in a project environment, that this is possible.
Yeah. Great. So anything else you like to give, talk or message? I think we have talked enough.
We could continue 2-3 hours, but I think we stop better now.
Yeah, we'll stop here, and the next week we'll have more discussion around similar topics. So let's continue the discussion. And thank you very much, Reinhard. It's a pleasure working with you or talking with you. So I think the number of videos already on your YouTube, on LinkedIn, people are loving it. I'm hoping that they get more and more value. And as usual, anybody has any good idea they wanted to learn from us, or want to discuss us, please share your ideas and reach out to us for anything we can help you with. So, Reinhard is a very popular man, and also he's ex-president of IPMA. So whatever you want to find, he's a great man. So yeah, please reach out to us and let us help you to help you. So once again, thank you, Reinhard. It's a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.